Welcome to Connections Live, our Noetic webinar series designed to help you deepen your sense of interconnection to inform and inspire. And thanks for joining for this special webinar on Soul Conversations, the Gift of Mediumship with Austyn Wells. We are recording this webinar and the video will be posted on our website later today. So we are going to share a link in the chat. We'll also email out that link later today so you can watch it again or share it with others. And as a scientific nonprofit, our funding is almost entirely from memberships and donations. So, first of all, we're so grateful for all of your support, every member who is here. And if you're not a member yet, consider joining with a gift of just $60 per year, which gives you access to hundreds of hours of video recordings on the topics of science, consciousness, and interconnection. You can learn more about membership or make a one-time donation to support our work at noetic.org/give. Okay, so let's get started. As I mentioned, we have author and medium Austyn Wells with us today. And Austyn will be joining us soon for our first in-person event that we've had for a while, the Ion Circle event in October 18th through 20th in Los Gatos, California. So we'll be talking a little bit more about that towards the end of our call for those who may, or the middle of our call for those who may be interested. But I just want to give a heads up, and we're excited to see Austyn in person soon. Okay, so let's just get right into it. And I'm going to read a short bio about Austyn for people who don't have a sense of who she is yet. So, Austyn Wells is an author, spiritual medium, and soul gardener who mentors spiritually seeking individuals to cultivate their intuition, heal their hearts, and connect with the divine. She's presented for such organizations as Edgar Cayce's ARE in Virginia Beach, the Omega Institute, the Sun Valley Wellness Festival, as well as the Afterlife Conference. Her award-winning book, Soul Conversations, guides you into a conversation with your soul and the universe. She offers online classes, international and personalized spiritual retreats, one-on-one and group sessions, and her AWSM family membership. So you can find out more information about her at austynwells.com. And Austyn, welcome to the IONS community. We are so glad that you are here, and I'll tune it right back to you. So the stage is yours. Welcome, Austyn.
Thank you, Andrea. Thank you, Rosemary. Thank you from Liam, who's in the behind scenes doing all the goodness. So we've got audio visual going. And everyone who is present today, oh my Lord, hello, welcome. Thank you for being intelligent and tuning into an organization that is really, really remarkable. What I appreciate about IONS, I've been fortunate to present for them in the past. I've taught at a campus that they have had in Petaluma. But what I love about this organization is in a time period where people are prognosticating about all the things that they know, you have a blessed organization that is absolutely intoxicated by what they don't know. We are always better when we learn, and to have an opportunity to align with such a powerful purpose is magnificent. So thanks for being so smart and for being here today. So I have a slide presentation, and then we're going to talk about some things, and I'm going to do an interactive exercise that will help you have an idea of how to develop your intuition at home just with basic decisions. So we'll get to that in a little bit. But for the meantime, let me share screen, as we are so accustomed to doing these days, and start talking about our topic today, which is the gift of mediumship. I have been blessed to do this work for over 20 years now. And I titled this particular discussion, The Gift of Mediumship, because in alignment with the consciousness expansion and the curiosity that IONS has, I felt that this was an absolutely fluid conversation for us to have. So we're going to go in a couple of different directions, from the world of physics that has certain belief systems into the quantum physics world. and all tying in mediumship. So the first thing I want to talk about is fate. There are people who are called predeterminists who believe or who know that fate is defined as predetermined course of events that are inevitable and unchangeable. I don't know about you, but fate sounds really heavy to me. It sounds like um, if everything is predetermined, then what about personal responsibility? What about my the things that I intend on, and how do my desires and wishes and wants and human experience contribute to life at all? So I want to take this premise but make it personal. So my first quantum experience happened when I was 5 years old. It was what I would call a multi world experience. And this is a quantum principle, which says all possible outcomes of a quantum event occur in separate branching universes. Now, I was 5, so I don't know if I was really keen on quantum physics at that point, but this is what transpired. I was in a fashion show the next day, and I was awake at 3 o'clock in the morning, fearful that I was just going to face plant going up the stairs onto the runway. I, in that moment, couldn't reach out to my available support because my parents weren't the people you wake up in the middle of the night and ask for help. So I did the only thing I knew to do at that point, which was to pray. And I just said, God, just like help or source or whatever. In that moment, the walls of my room started morphing. Now, everything that was physical and strong started having waveform to it. And all of a sudden, my room became filled with beings of light that I could see through. I wasn't afraid at all. And this one woman came to my bedside, and she was very kind. And she used what I would call now soul to soul communication, which means that she was communicating to me within herself, but I could hear it as if it was auditory, but it was within. And she said, "We're here to help." So in that moment, my room became two realities. I was in the room with all these people, but then to my right hand side, I actually was given the vision of the next day. I was shown the runway, and I was a bridesmaid. And the fear that I had was I had all this tulle and I couldn't see my feet. So they had me witness first my starting at the bottom of the stairs and going up the stairs, which was my biggest fear that I was going to fall. And then at that point, once I had the awareness in observing it that I was going to be fine, I then switched to a somatic experience where I became me on the runway of the next day. So then I walked into this room of the next day and I could suddenly witness all of the audience. And then they had me become the audience and the feeling that they had toward me being in that bridesmaid dress. And I felt love and compassion and togetherness and oneness, and I felt loved. And then they had me become the energy of the entire room. And then I felt unconditional love. And in that moment, I was returned to my bedroom. The other reality of the runway dissipated. And I was with less people in the room, but still with the woman that was with me. And she intuited to me, "Are you okay?" And I was like, "I'm fine. I got this. It's going to be cool." And then she dissipated back into the walls, and then I gently fell asleep. So, what that moment did for me was it helped me understand I had a choice. Now, a fate existence says you don't have a choice. But what I'd like to do is expand the idea of fate to introduce two other ideas. Destiny. Destiny is a predetermined path one is meant to follow, leading to a specific purpose or an end. Now, the difference between destiny and fate is that destiny infers the fact that you are a distillation of source energy. That's your energy field, what I call the soul space, that then is around your physical body and connects to the body through the chakra system. So, what it means is you have an individualized path and a contribution to the greater good. Then the next step to that particular awareness is free will. Because what that circumstance taught me was if I had just stayed in my fear, I was going to have a very fated experience. That fear was going to drive me in a very expected path. Instead, what happened was I was actually shown I had an opportunity. And the next day happened very similarly to what I witnessed and also somatically felt. So I bring this up because people talk about affirmations and the power of intention and so on and so forth. And part of the exercise we're going to do is a somatic exercise because I want you to understand the power that you have of the wisdom within your own body to help you align with this incredible source of dynamic wisdom that is available to all of us, which is greater consciousness, source, divine intelligent, God, whatever the word is that you wish to use. So, the gift of mediumship for the sitter. So if people are completely like have no idea what mediumship is, let me just take a moment. A person that has psychic or intuitive abilities can sense into the energy field of your soul and pick up information about anything that's transpired in the physical experience that you've had as the soul that you are right now. And that can be everything from how you're doing with money to relationships, anything in that level. A medium, think of it being between two things, connects two energy fields. So as a medium, I have you as my sitter, and then I have someone in spirit that's connected to you. And my job is to be kind of a medium and allow that person who is discarnate to utilize my physical system to bring forth messages. So the benefit for a sitter is evidence of the survival of consciousness past death. Once you have an awareness, the physical death is something we all have to experience, and it brings a tremendous amount of trauma in different ways. But it also is the most magical transition if you can be present to someone in the dying process, because you will witness magic and miracle more than I can say. It gives comfort and confirmation that love still exists. So even though the physical form has shifted, that energy, that beautiful soul that we've been in love with, or we've had like a really big go with, is still available to us. It allows grief support. And just as a word to the wise, which you all are, make sure that when you're aligning with a medium that they have grief training. A medium really should understand the topography of grief, because there are presentations with a person in grief that is out of the realm of mediumship and should be given to someone who specializes in complicated grief or in a grief support way that would be more aligned than a person getting messages. It also gives closure and vision. So you can and it doesn't close everything, because grief, depending on who's passed, is a longevity experience, but it's part of the growth of us as souls on this earth. But it gives the person hope that there's something beyond, that there's vision. And then it brings up kind of crazy things like, well, shoot, if they can talk to me, then like, who have I been before? Have I lived before? What are past lives? Wait a minute, is like, what is going on in my family? Why is everybody crazy? Why am I the sane one? So mediumship is the invitation to a larger soul conversation. Now, I mention this because of this particular group, about what it's been the experience for me as a medium that I feel aligns with a lot of the scientific exploration. There's a great video by Dean Radin talking about consciousness and quantum physics. Please watch it. It's delicious and delightful. Our, if you, the gift of mediumship for me has been mind blowing. Now, I don't mean me being egotistical about what I do. In fact, I have the opposite result. I'm humbled beyond belief to be able to be the receiver of and a conduit of communication between two souls. I've learned more about the human experience than I can possibly put into words. makes you realize that because I've essentially had an out of body experience as a profession, that there's something beyond us, that there is an available intelligence that is available to all of us. It was proven to me when I was 5 years old. My profession proves it to me all the time. So we have this idea because we are a finite soul, because part of our awareness is that we're physical and everything physical dies. So we have a sensation of separating ourselves instead of putting ourselves in a collection and a collective. And so taking time to explore this greater universe is the greatest invitation that you will have. It gives us access to an availability of unconditional love and help. It gives us empowerment, personal integrity, makes us think about personal responsibility a little bit differently, especially when souls so willingly, who were absolutely vacant to their actions while alive, have the capacity to be able to suddenly realize that they affected traumatically people. And the accountability and the healing that can happen in that moment takes my breath away. Our actions have reactions. What runs in the family can be what runs in the family unless there's consciousness brought to it. And you, my friend, are the change. You wouldn't be drawn to an organization like this unless you were that individual. It gives us an undeniable existence of what the double split experiment helps in quantum physics, which is the idea of an observer. Um, whether it was the gift that I had in my bedroom of me observing myself first before I became myself in that vision, whether it's the idea of us being watched by our ancestors and them having wisdom about our experience. That works with guides, that works with angels, but that also works on just a larger level of what if all consciousness is accessible to us? Why aren't we accessing that when we're visioning the future of the world and looking for greater problems, the answer to problems? It allows us to tell a different story about ourselves, possibly frame our existence in a different capacity, that it isn't happening to us, it's happening for us. We're growing, we're evolving, we're learning. It allows the idea that all time is accessible. And I know this because I do past life regression, which is really fascinating. Um, Having context about why certain things transpire in your life that don't have logical, linear understanding or a point of origin within this particular lifetime, boy, that gives you pieces to your soul that are really amazing. Remote viewing is something our government has used since the 1970s as a way of in that way of gaining information about other countries. But remote viewing also can be used to drop into the future and possibly, I mean, wouldn't it be great if we could create think tanks of people that had the ability with remote viewing to be able to drop into a potential scenario in the future, a war zone, something, and see what we could do differently in the present moment to affect the future moment. So all time is accessible. So the idea of fate and God love determinists, you live in that physics world. That's beautiful. But in my understanding and everything I've learned in my profession, we live in a multidimensional universe. We live in with all time accessible, and that will absolutely make your awareness of time very, very different. From Tesla to Edison, the possibility of interdimensional communication is a normal. Paranormal activity. I had a circumstance one time where I was reading for a gal and her father came through and she was lamenting that her dad didn't get an opportunity to witness her daughter. We were in the room with all the daughter's toys, and all of the toys started making noise. I I had a moment. I hadn't experienced something like that before, but his soul had activated the energy which they can do. So there's so many things that are possible that we don't explore enough. I think we get comfortable, like I said, with what we know. I just really am a proponent for us getting comfortable with what we don't know. It also gives us an awareness of the mind, and I want to talk about that for just a second. We have a beautiful brain. It allows this fantastic physical system that we have to function. There is the concept of mind. I see it a little bit differently. I see it kind of like an open field. And if we can get past the circumstances of our own personal lives and get to a point where we are in agreement and allowance of the things that are transforming in our lives that are benefiting us, that we're learning from, you can begin to cultivate a place within your own soul where the mind becomes the launch point for any possibility for you to connect with. As a medium, it is my job to not have any personal conundrums crashing in when I'm sitting with you, because I can't be distracted. I have to be so magnificently present in the moment that I work as a medium, because my entire senses are blended with the soul who's disincarnate in order to bring forth their memories using my nervous system, so that my brain suddenly has all of these not my experience films and sensory experiences. So in that place of oneness that I've really cultivated, or that place of mind, there's magnificent wisdom. There's your intuition grows, you get inspired completely differently, your creativity grows. But more importantly, and especially right now, oh God, this world needs unity. We're we're spending so much time focusing on how we're different. And that's not growing. That's just being in our brains and in judgment. And that's so easy. Let's take the opportunity and the inspiration of ions, which is comfortable with what it doesn't know, and have that be the jumping off point for all of us to come together and realize that the only way that we're going to create a heaven on earth is by community and unity. And if COVID didn't teach us that, I don't know what did. So that is my share as far as my slides go. So now what I'd like to do is, now that we've kind of had cerebral downloads, now I think it'd be fun for us to do an exercise. So in order to do this exercise, what I would like you to do is find, hopefully there's paper near you. If you are driving, please do not do this exercise. Please wait until you get home. But if you happen to be at home and you can find a piece of paper, I have like a Post-it pad. What I want you to do is you're going to take the piece of paper and create two even sized pieces, and then split them so you have two even pieces of paper. So while you're getting paper, I'm going to explain what we're going to do. The other thing I want you to start thinking about, think of a circumstance in your life where you really are kind of at a crossroads. You could go that way or you could go that way. Much like when I was 5 years old, I actually had a choice. I had a choice to live with my fear, my finite self, my human being, pennying myself into a conundrum, or I had a decision to vision it differently. But in this case, it could be I need to make a change in my business, and I don't know if I should hire someone or if I should start a podcast. That'd be a great example. I have a relationship with this person. Um, they're going through a really tough time. Is it better for me to wait to tell them that I'm having some issues with them, or should I wait for a different moment? So try to find something that really has that feeling of, I don't know if A is the right answer or B is the right answer. So I'm going to check in with the chat window. Oh my God, there's so many of you. Okay. So now what I'd like you to do, so hopefully everybody has a piece of paper by now. Maybe you've thought about this exercise. What I want you to do on the pieces of paper, and this can work with two similar objects, I want you to delineate like A and B, or 1 and 2. So on one piece of paper, there's a 1. On the other piece of paper, there's a 2. And as you're doing that, I want you to assign, 1 is I'm going to have a conversation with my friend because this is an imperative thing and I need to express myself. And two is maybe I should wait. Maybe it's not the right timing, given the fact that Mercury's in retrograde. So, for people that have access to the chat window, can you kind of like let me know if you're ready for the exercise to start? Yay! Thanks, Marissa. Thanks, James. Hey, James. All right, Karen, Victoria, everybody's ready. Hi, Deb. Nice to see you. Thank you so much. So many friends. Thank you for all the people that support me. I'm so grateful for that. Okay. Wow, everybody's ready. We're ready. Okay. Now, what I want you to do is you're going to take the pieces of paper and you're going to close your eyes. And I want you to shuffle them so you do not have an awareness of one or two or A or B. So I want you to put shuffle, 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 put one in your left hand and one in your right hand. And everybody take a nice deep breath in and exhale. There we go. Okay. Put your put the piece of paper in your right hand down in front of you so you can find it easily. And I just want you to put both of your hands together on top of the piece of paper that you're holding. Now, when you work intuitively, we have physical senses that help us understand the physical world. We're going to use our soul senses or our clear abilities to sense energy. So, what I want you to notice is as you're holding this door number one option, how do you somatically feel? More or less, what is your body telling you? So, most of the time, energy will be resident within the trunk of our body or within the chakra system, but it can be everywhere. So, first of all, the first thing I want you to notice is how does it feel holding this? Do you feel anxious? Do you feel worried? Do you feel afraid? Do you feel angry? Do you feel sad? Do you feel happy, joyous? So acknowledge the emotion. Then I want you to notice, where do you feel that emotion? Is it heart centered? Is it in your solar plexus? Then I also want you to notice, like, do you have funny energy in your throat? So those are all feeling. Now, are there any visuals that come with this, holding this? Those are mind's eye visions. Do you hear anything? Okay. So now you're going to take a nice deep breath in and you're going to exhale. And you're going to thank this opportunity for teaching you what the opportunity of it is. And then you're going to gently put that piece of paper down. And you're going to find the other piece of paper. And you're going to grab that one. And now we're going to do the same thing again. Now, what I want you to notice is almost the minute you pick up the other option, it will really feel differently. So take a nice deep breath in and exhale. Now, where do you feel this option? You might find you're feeling places you didn't feel before. Maybe you're feeling your head, um, the back of your neck, maybe your legs. Also, notice, like, does it feel heavy, light? Anything that you see in your mind's eye when you are holding this option? How's your breathing? Is it different than the first option? This one? Do you hear anything besides my dog? Okay, now take a nice deep breath in And exhale, keeping your eyes closed, putting the piece of paper down. And now I just, without any visual information, I just want you to think about your experience between 1 and 2, A and B, and just take a moment and say which one actually felt better, like which one made me feel more comfortable. And then when you feel that you've arrived at that determination, take a nice deep breath in and exhale. And now you can open up your eyes and ask the ever curious question, what just happened? So let that be an exercise that you use when you want to get. You could use kinesthetic exercises. I kind of like this one because it allows you to use all of your soul senses, your ability to feel, to hear, to see, to taste, to touch, to know. Um, yeah. So great. Darlene said one felt a little bit more sad than the other. Yeah. Great. Jody, good. I'm glad it was helpful. Yeah. It's super simple exercise, but it'll build your intuition. And heck, we always need help making decisions, don't we? Okay. All right. That is my presentation, everyone.
Thank you so much, Austyn, for that presentation and also this really tangible experience that we can use going forward, and even just feeling our senses without knowing which paper is which, and also loved following along. So thank you so much. And I see a lot of thank
Yeah.
yous in the chats, and someone said surprised with results and very helpful.
Right.
So that's great. And so thank you also for your presentation. And we have time to go into Q&A with Austyn. So please put your questions into the Q&A box. So you'll find that it's not the chat box, otherwise it will get lost amongst the chats. So go into the Q&A. Some of you have already posted your questions. We have plenty of time to answer questions. So go ahead and head over there and type in your question. And while you do that, we have a special guest that's going to come on for a moment and talk to us a little bit about our Ion Circle Weekend, which I mentioned Austyn will be in person with us in October. So I am really happy to invite onto the stage for just a couple minutes our ION's Director of Advancement, Rosemary Calderalo, who will be talking to us about Circle Weekend. So welcome, Rosemary. Thank you for joining us.
Thank you, Andrea. And thank you, Austyn, for sharing your amazing knowledge with us. I can't wait to hear some of the questions I know people are looking forward to asking. So I do want to say thank you to everyone for your support of IONS and its important mission. A special thank you to our members, without whom we could not bring you wonderful programs like this. And the upcoming retreat weekend, where our Circle members, science team, and Austyn Wells will be gathering in person at Green Mountain Retreat Center in Los Gatos, California. And that's going to be October 18th through the 20th for a weekend we know of transformational experience, noetic connections, and conversations about spirituality, cutting edge consciousness research, and the future of IONS research. To find out more about how to become an ION Circle member, you can visit your website and you'll see the link in the chat, or email us at membership@noetic.org. And if you are an ION Circle member already, we hope you can join us in October. And now we have a very short video to play so you can get a glimpse of this marvelous location and get a feel for the experience you'll have if you join us. Thank you, everyone.
IONS is proud to welcome our Circle members to Green Mountain Retreat in Los Gatos, California, for a weekend of noetic moments, research discussion with our science team, and experiential sessions.
If you're not already a Circle member, visit noetic.org/support/membership to become a member today. And thank you for your support.
Thank you, Liam, for playing the video just to give a little sense of the beautiful space we'll be at and also really be able to interact, ask questions. That's the beauty of the in-person and smaller events. So again, you can email us at membership@noetic.org if you are not a Circle member and would like to become one. And if you are a Circle member, we really hope you'll join us. We're really excited to be in person. So thanks again, Rosemary. And it looks like we have several questions coming in. So great. Do you have a particular one, Austyn, that you see? Or I can, okay, great.
Yeah,
Okay.
they're just gorgeous, gorgeous questions, everyone. Just I wanted to go to Philip asked a really great question. How important is the environment or the setting in the exercise? What a great question, Philip. I think it is imperative whenever you're doing this kind of work to really try to, much like as a medium does, I don't ever just walk into a session without prepping. I would need to put myself in that place where that mind space is open and clear. So, yes, Philip, it could be a little distracting. It was a little impromptu, but practice it. And if you're a good scientist, right? Practice what it feels like to go to Starbucks and do it there and see what focus and intention is needed as opposed to trying it at home with a candle when the music is playing.
That's great. And maybe I'll ask one more question about
Yeah.
the exercise because there's a couple that came in around the exercise. This one was actually in the chat, but it caught my eye. Virginia said, um, during the shuffling, I made a choice. Holding the first paper made me feel anxious and uncomfortable. The second made me feel lighter, but the first one was the choice I had already committed to. But the thing is, I think even though my choice is right for me, I think it should make me feel unsettled and anxious because it involves taking a relationship risk. But I know that if I do, it will feel better, whatever the outcome. So I don't know if you have a
Ooh.
on
So,
that.
Virginia, you get an extra cookie for self awareness. I think fear is one of the most misunderstood human emotions because the minute we have a sensation or a tingling of anxiety, we lean out of it instead of investigate it. All it means is something has inspired your nervous system to have a response. And so to me, it's calling for consciousness. So in that moment, yes, there are plenty of times I have had massive anxiety about something. But once I started reframing it and realizing that that future me that has succeeded has a grab of energy I don't have in this moment. And what if fear is just the energy of my future self trying to help me know that I'm going to be stronger and better from stepping into it?
Beautiful. Yeah.
Go, girl.
Intuition plus self-awareness. I love that. Great. Oh, there's so many great questions. We have a couple questions about how to get into a receptive state. So, are there ways one can get into receptive states quickly, which can help us tune into higher experiences? We had a couple questions about
Mhm. Absolutely. I think one of the most powerful there's two ones that I can think of right away. One is your breath. Anything that brings you, like the exercise, what we did is we came inside. Conscious awareness, mediumship, all of those things don't happen externally, they're internally. So anything that invites you inward, if you love sound, sit with a piece of music that makes you feel transformational or it feels sacred to you, whatever that word might imply. Listening, so sound could be an impetus. Having a flower, something of nature in front of you that you can study in detail and then allow your senses to kind of open to like the petals do. That's another way of opening. But any somatic opportunity helps.
Great. And Shakira is asking, does everyone inherently have mediumistic abilities? How can people awaken these abilities? And why are some people tuned out of these abilities? And why are some people in touch with them?
Hmm. I think everybody, because we all, in my awareness, start as energy and we distill into physical form. We all have the awareness of all energy and that all energy is accessible. So where the barrier is our beliefs. and they're very personal. And there are people who do not believe it's possible, and we need to respect them because that is a very truthful statement for them. I think that there can be fear around it because a lot of people think that connecting with energy disables your own energy. So they think there's bad energy and good energy. I find it's a benign universe. And the more that I work on my optimism and the more that I work on being the best version of myself, I don't need to worry about canceling out somebody else's energy because I'm fortified in my own field. So I think the more that you can exercise the authenticity of your soul and just have fun like you did today, hopefully. There are plenty of people that teach mediumship. I have a monthly class that I teach. If you're really serious about it, there's a college in England called the Arthur Findlay College, which specializes, it's kind of like Hogwarts for mediums. It's Disneyland for mediums and intuitives, and it's an amazing location.
Amazing. Thank you for that.
Yeah.
Great. I'm trying to see what questions have some themes to them. So we have a few different people asking about free will, what you touched on in your presentation. And Stuart's asking, can you go into a little more detail about the relationship between destiny and free will? And so if
Okay.
anything to speak about that.
This again infers the fact if you are ensconced in if you're a physicist, this conversation is going to probably not make any sense because I am conscious of soul to soul communication, more or less, the ability for another intelligence to communicate with mine. I have a different trajectory because of all of these people that I've talked to over the years that are out of physical form. I believe that we are distilled into physical form to have the human experience because it is limited. And it's an interesting experiment because if we come from the idea that we're in this oneness and then we're void of that and made to feel singular and only self aware, it's a fantastic experiment. But if you can take that on and empower yourself to know that. And I promise you, every single person here has a gift for this world. There is something about you that you bring to the table that nobody else does. And the sadness for me is we forget that. My joy is I get to remind you. But destiny aligns with the idea that there's a purpose to the being of you. There's a purpose, a trajectory to the contributions you have. I think we get front loaded in our lives to deal with things that we have to work through. If we can transform those, sometimes the things that we experience, we don't want other people to experience. And then that becomes the service piece that we give to the world. And then we try to help other people learn from our experience. And I think that kind of idea of destiny helps you understand sometimes why there's those dark nights of the soul. But even in the dark nights of the soul, there's always illumination and light somewhere. And the free will part is remembering that you can make a choice. If your family is unconscious and you're conscious, I promise you the decisions that you make can exponentially not only affect the future generations, but they can affect your personal life and also the past. Because in a quantum universe, all time is available. So that's how powerful you are.
Beautiful. Yeah, actually, maybe you can expand a little bit more on this all-time piece. There was a question about how do we go into this experience or connect with this experience of nonlinear time?
Okay, meditation is really the first indication that I have. If we want to explore that which we don't know, we have to spend time in the invisible realm. Past life regression is a great experience to look into. Past life regression allows you to witness time that your soul has been connected to and explore different iterations of what your soul or who your soul has been and those people around you, which gives you great information to walk forward in your life, especially when there are situations you don't understand. it also, with like remote viewing, allows you to go into the future and to witness things, or to go somewhere else in the world and witness something in real time. So time is, we just see it as past, present, and future. We see it as two-dimensional, which is insane because nothing is two-dimensional in our universe. We see it as past, present, future. So I think the invitation of it is find something that's intriguing to you, to discover, whether it's your own world, or remote viewing is also something. If you're very scientific, remote viewing is fascinating. It's really interesting. And some of the people that aligned with the government agency from 1972 actually teach still and are probably members of IONS. So there's plenty of grabs of information that you can find in that way. But get curious.
That's great. And we do have, well, at IONS, we do have research on mediumship as well as precognition. So definitely, I love the get curious and really open into what some of the research is showing, which is pretty fascinating. Time starts to look a little less solid than how we typically think about it.
And I'll just add this: when I do past life regression sessions, one of my favorite questions to ask at the end of a session of the person that I've just regressed is, how long do you think that was? And they'll be like, half an hour, 45 minutes. I'll be 2 hours. No awareness of time. Think about when you get lost in something that you love, playing with a child that you adore, doing a favorite project. You completely lose track of time. Time we cannot define. We still can't define it. We have leap years. We can't figure time out. So let's not accept the fact that time is so linear.
That's great. That's great. I want to ask the very first question that came into the Q&A. So Catherine says, so when people die, I have considered that their individual energetic imprint returns to the whole and thus disappears. However, I'm so curious because thinking of past lives and communicating with souls beyond the body, that every soul that ever came into form continues as that specific imprint. So I don't know if you can give a little insight from your worldview and experience.
Well, now we're in the quantum world, aren't we? Because when we talk about entanglement, we're talking about the ability for two objects to have connection and effect on each other. So if you tie in the idea within quantum physics that there is always an observer, what if that puts your ancestors potentially in the observer position? The idea that they become consciousness, absolutely true, but there still is a sense of connection to your soul because they have been in relationship with you. That is one of the reasons why I think they're so invested in wanting us to feel better about ourselves, to feel free, to be accountable, to step into different levels of personal accountability, because our sense of diminishment because of something that didn't happen, that we are lost in time about, they will have an awareness of. They're not stuck in it, but they're aware of it. So if they can give us a certain kind of freedom, then we expand, and that exponentially expands everything. So yes, they are in a different form, but that doesn't mean they still don't have the awareness of their human experience. But then the added benefit to that is they're swimming in the ethers of magnificent wisdom, infinite intelligence. And then they can actually offer palpable levels of credible information that is valuable to you, that we would probably call wisdom, that they may not have been able to gather when they were here.
Great, great. Thank you for that answer. And we're going to go to a question from Elena, who says, if we are all souls from a higher dimension, why do we need human experience to grow?
Oh, Elena. That's the question on everybody's mind. Why is it so darn hard? Much like ions is constantly asking what we don't know. Much like artificial intelligence is constantly gaining new information to have more information, and it's feeding on it like food. Consciousness has a way of expanding. And We are transformed by our experience if we allow ourselves to agree with the idea that we are in a classroom and that it's all helping us. And if you can align yourself with an affinity that this world is helping you, even on a really tough circumstance, it allows you to empower all the people that are around you with this idea that they're actually mirroring something back to you that you may not understand about yourself. And it automatically puts you in community with those that are around you. I love to treat the people that I'm around as my family, whether I've known them for 10 minutes or I've known them most of my lifetime, because they've been brought to me for a reason. I really believe that. And it makes me act differently. And probably there's some people that think I'm a little loony, but I kind of don't mind it because it certainly stays interesting. I hope that helps, Elena.
Great. That's great. So, great. We still have time for a few more questions.
Great.
Here's one from Sarah, and I imagine some other people might have this question. How to deal with the spirit of someone who's died who feels dangerous or angry or malicious in some way? I don't know if you have any
Yeah.
advice or
Yeah.
experience.
And what was her name? Thank you. Sorry.
Sarah.
Sarah. Hi, Sarah. Okay, great question. We should always be aware of energy that doesn't feel comfortable to us. However, again, that whole idea about us not investigating fear, I really want to bring to the forefront here. If you can agree that everything is benign unless it's given a definition, my inquiry would be, what about it feels like it's dangerous? And what if we go into my idea of everything is connected and everything is teaching you something, what if that energy is presenting itself to help you understand that it's actually there to help you? It's actually there to bring something to your awareness. A lot of times, children will have this awareness of somebody standing at the end of the bed. Well, oftentimes, the person at the end of the bed is an ancestor, because when a child goes to sleep, much like we as human beings, hopefully, take our child and put them in bed and make them comfy and they go to sleep. So we take care of the physical part. That soul is at the end of the bed, making sure when they go into soul flight, more or less, they have their out of body experience when they dream and go experience other dimensions, that presence is there. The child will think something's wrong because of our response to it. But if they were given a moment to explore it, they might actually feel that it's kind of like a guardian angel, an ancestor, somebody that's there to guide them. So my invitation is, don't judge something. And I'm not, Sarah, I totally get it. I studied shamanism and they were talking about curses and all sorts of things. And I believed it for a while until I realized I didn't agree with that. Nobody has power over you unless you give them power. So reclaim it and investigate it and find out what that energy is trying to teach you. It may be saying that's a fear of yours that you don't need to carry anymore. Otherwise, it's going to show up in other things and it's going to disallow you to go forward.
Brilliant. The reclaiming. Yeah.
Great.
Great. And we've got a question from Tim who asks, how do you know if what you get from your mediumship practice is real or just your own imagination? And as people are practicing tuning into these more subtle realms, how can they know what information to trust?
3 P words: practice, practice, practice. Seriously, mediumship, the minute that world expands, it is the most intoxicating adventure you'll go on. However, it demands magnificent discernment, and that does not come overnight. That comes from having the willingness to be able to be very, very clear in what your perceptions are. Practice. There are groups all over the place of people that want to practice other mediums, create, and I'm sure with technology, Tim, you can figure out a way to reach out to other people that you know. But then invite friends to come in so there's new, fresh blood. Because if you're in a group of mediums that read each other over and over again, you know each other's dead people, and it's not as much fun.
this. I love that practice and discernment. Great. We have, I think, just a couple more questions. We have Cheryl here, who's talking again about the paper exercise that you did of
Yes.
one choice or the other. Um, and what about the next steps if we intuit the better option but have zero clarity on how to do that, despite strong intuition? How do we get more guidance? And she says, after years of asking and listening. So anything that you have like guidance to go for what the intuition is saying.
Yes, I would drop into a meditative state. So, more or less, find a way that you can align with that idea of an open mind. Imagine yourself, because it feels like that circumstance, if I'm correct, has a person involved in it. So, imagine going to a sacred space someplace. If you like, the mountains, go to the mountains. If you like the beach, go to the beach. And imagine inviting that person's soul to that place, not their human being that's going through all their cockadoodle-doo. You want to invite their higher self. And you can have a very valid, believe it or not, conversation with them and say, what are you teaching me? And it doesn't just have to be a person. You can actually bring in a circumstance. And you could do the same thing with the pieces of paper, just intend the pieces of paper. So this is if this person is involved, this is if this person isn't involved, and this is this. And then grab the piece of paper and sit with it and see what comes to you in that conversation with the paper, maybe asking that question and seeing how it feels.
Great. So whatever the circumstances, coming into that deeper sense of presence, meditation, openness to
Yeah.
what's learning. Yeah.
Okay.
Great. Well, I just want to ask you, Austyn, if you have any final thoughts for us. It's been such a beautiful discussion, and thank you everyone who put your questions into the Q&A. And yeah, just if you have any final thoughts for us, Austyn, on this topic.
First of all, I just want to thank everybody so much, of the 233 people that are present and for the people that will be witnessing this virtually. Thank you first and foremost for your support of IONS. This is such a great organization. Dive in, get to know them. They're fantastic. I offer all sorts of different ways to explore your soul because it's my passion. I have a free Wednesday night meditation that I offer online that you are more than welcome to join. There is a gift that I'm sharing with all of you that has a meditation in it that will kind of show you the way that I work meditationally. And I go into that space of mind and I never require that I know ahead of time what it is. So it's all just dropped in information, which seems to help the group. But if I can be of any assistance, my website is austynwells.com. But most importantly, just be yourself. Be the most beautiful version of yourself without apology, please, because we need you in this world. The miracle of you is needed so much right now. And I'm a big fan. Thank you, Ian, so much. Thank you, Andrea, and thank you, Rosemary, and thank you, Molly, and thank you, Liam.
Yay. Thank you so much, Austyn. And we put the link to that free gift in the chat. So make sure and click that. We'll also send that out in the email so people, anyone on this call can continue to follow up with you. And as mentioned, we'd love to have anyone who wants to join us in person for the Ion Circle weekend as well. And Austyn will be there. And yeah, just really touched by this inviting us all into our deeper self and also this community. Like we're all in this together. I just really felt that so strongly. So thank you, Austyn, for
You're
your
welcome.
your gift of sharing with us. And as many of you know, ION's free programs, as well as our scientific research, are almost entirely funded by the generous gift from our members and donors. So we just have a huge gratitude to everyone who supports the mission of IONS in whatever way that is for you, whether that's donating, coming to these webinars, spreading the message of interconnection of science. We're so grateful for your support in this mission. And if you have enjoyed today's offering, we invite you to go to noetic.org/give to make a special gift or become a member today. and participate in more of our Noetic events, both in person and online. So thank you again for joining us. We are so grateful, and we'll see y'all next time. Thank you so much. Bye for now.